Hi, everyone. Our next guest today is Steve Udolph, who's the National Sales Manager at Certainteed Architectural. Steve, such a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It's great to be here.
Steve, give us an introduction to Certainteed Architectural. What is the range of products that you deal with?
So Certainteed Architectural is a ceiling company and wall, but mainly a ceiling company. So we have a bunch of different products. We have some grid and tile, just your standard lay-in grid and tile. We have then a whole breadth of specialty products. So specialty metal products, specialty wood products, and then specialty fiberglass products, which is our acoustics company that everybody knows.
Wonderful. Here we have up an image of the product that you're going to talk to us about today, which is the HeartFelt Nuvola collection.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that product and why it was introduced by Certainteed.
So Nuvola is it's basically a variation of our standard HeartFelt product, and there's some really neat stuff with Nuvola. So Nuvola it combines the linear visuals of just our standard HeartFelt and the kind of the warmth of the felt in a pre-designed kit. And really what they are clouds, right? And so these clouds help add acoustics to spaces while still keeping that open plenum look that's so popular right now. They're very highly absorbent acoustically. So they get an NRC up to 70, which of course is really good acoustics. But what's really neat about the Nuvola is, whereas your metal and your wood absorb sound really, really well in the low end of the spectrum, but tail off in the high end of the spectrum. So your louder pitch voices. Nuvola is the complete opposite. It has really, really good sound absorption in the high end of the spectrum. So it's got a little bit of different type of acoustics than your standard panels would.
That's wonderful. And thanks so much for finding that out, right? Different materials can help you deal with different frequencies of sound. That's why any fully conceived acoustic solution needs to have many different elements in it. And Nuvola is perfect for that because it's this cloud. And I see the beautiful integration with lighting throughout. So tell us a little bit about how an interior designer would work with Nuvola on their project. How do you plan for it? Is it customizable? Sort of how do you design with it?
All right, so Nuvola is not customizable. Nuvola, what's really neat about Nuvola is that it's a kit of parts, and so we have I think 24 different kits, and those kits are different cloud sizes, different shapes, and they have different types of configurations, and so it makes it very easy to design with because it's very standard from that standpoint.
Right. Right. And how should designers plan for sort of the acoustic performance of Nuvola, as you were saying? Is that information available with the kit as well?
Of course it is, and it's very basic from an NRC standpoint of 70. But obviously, the more material you put into a space, the more chance you have to absorb some of that bouncing sound that's echoing throughout the space. So it always depends on the configuration of the space and what you can and can't put into that space. We've seen some really neat designs where you have clouds on top of clouds, and where you really can hang and add some really neat design to it. But also, it's fairly simplified because you have that pre-made kit of parts.
Would you say Nuvola is maybe more easy to implement than some, larger or like more complex acoustic systems for the same effect?
Absolutely, because again, anytime that you have the ability to design and really work your design with something that's fairly standard, that can be easily installed, but also easily drawn and easily designed into the space, it makes it a lot easier for that designer to be able to add more to the space, but also to take those standard configurations and customize them within the space, depending on how they're hung. We've seen a lot of different installations, from anywhere from, like I said, tiered installations to simple clouds above cubicles in offices.
Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, I think the lighting integration in some of these is really interesting as well. How do designers work around that?
Well, specifically, since this comes as a kit of parts, you would work two ways. You could easily integrate lighting throughout the cloud formations by hanging it through the cloud. So some really nice pendant lights,
Mhm.
or some independently hung can lights could easily hang through. But you also could hang longer linear lights by just simply removing some of the panels and putting those lighting into, but putting them right into it. Very easy.
Oh, that's such a smart idea. Um, so tell us, what kinds of spaces are you seeing Nuvola being used in now?
All right, so we find Nuvola being used anywhere from lobby entrances, to simple offices where you need to control sound over individual cubicles, because those obviously, we all have different work configurations now, but the open work configuration has become very popular, and so you still got to control the sound within that space. And Nuvola does a really good job of that. Not just that, but Nuvola, it's got a very standard pricing structure to it. So it's very
Hmm.
easy to tell what you're putting into your space, and what your costs are going to be by doing that.
Is it also easy to retrofit a space with Nuvola?
It'd be really very easy to retrofit a space as long as you can get up to some type of the structure, which again, we see a lot of this open plenum. You can absolutely suspend from that directly down into the Nuvola, and the Nuvola itself, it it the Nuvola itself hangs very easily. So
Yeah.
from just standard hanger wire to, so you can do actual, our own. We have our own suspension or easy hanger wire.
Yeah, I mean, we know a lot of post-pandemic, projects that were in the works before the pandemic, suddenly now they want to put in a lot more shared space, a lot more collaborative space, but do it open so that there's air circulation. And I can see how Nuvola would be a fantastic sort of retrofit choice over there as well. We're talking about health, of course. I just brought up the pandemic. Tell us a little bit about the sustainability sort of credentials that Nuvola has.
Well,
How does it support well-being?
so Nuvola is a cradle to cradle product, and it's got a Green Guard Gold certification. So it also won the Red Dot Award in Europe in 2017. But it's very sustainable. It's our first cradle to cradle product, so that we have ever come out with. Um, and what's really neat too about it, I'll add on to it, is the different colors that you can get it in. So we've got 10 different colors, 5 sets of gray, 5 sets of earth tones, but they all have the same exact sustainability characteristics.
That's wonderful. What a versatile solution for a real need in office spaces today for acoustics. And of course, that you're doing it responsibly with that Green Guard certification and the Cradle to Cradle certification and the colors that are available. Easy to use, kit of parts, easy to put lighting into. Sounds like a dream. Thank you so much, Steve, for talking to us about Nuvola today.
Well, thank you very much for having me.